Hi, folks. Welcome to another week in the journey. And so this week, I want to encourage you with some thoughts about staying close to Jesus. Now, before I get to the encouragement, I just want to point out a couple of things to you with regard to some resources for the journey. First of all, with Bible reading, I just want to mention that our Bible reading plan this week in the YouVersion Bible app is Making Time to Rest. It's 5 days that you and I would be looking at the scripture, basically encouraging us to take time for spiritual rest in our life. And in our busy schedules, that's definitely what we need to do. So I'm just wanting you to be aware that's what our reading plan is this week. Now, our prayer focus as a church, and again, we are encouraging you to take 15 to 30 minutes on a Wednesday to pray about the things that we're praying about together as a church. And so this week, it's about our church. So if you have a prayer card or if you're using your church app on your smartphone device, you can be looking and praying for about 7 different things that we would like you to be praying with regards to our church. And in fact, there is encouragement from the scriptures about our role in a family of God, and so we just want you to be aware of that. Now, let's talk about our encouragement for this week. You know, you and I are on this journey. We are wanting to get into a deeper relationship with Jesus Christ. And while we want that and we would love to see that happen, sometimes I think we miss out on what exactly does that relationship look like. Well, Jesus describes that relationship for us in John chapter 15. And so for the next few weeks, I want to go through these first few verses of John 15 to help you and I to understand what he's talking about when he describes a relationship with him. And just today, if we look at the first 3 verses, we're going to come away with 3 truths that I think are going to be very helpful to you and I as we pursue our relationship with him. So this is what John records as the words of Jesus when he was in the upper room, and he basically shared this wonderful theme, or how should I say it, parable, word picture, that's a better way of saying it, a word picture concerning the relationship that we have with him. And it comes from gardening. It's about a vine. And in his mind, when he talks about a vine, that would be a grapevine. So here's what John records. Jesus is saying, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Now, right off the bat, he's going to give us an illustration to kind of illustrate the relationship that we have with him. So I want you to think about a grape arbor, and I want you to think about the main vine that grows up. That Jesus is saying he's that vine. And out of that vine, there are branches. And you and I are these branches. And then he talks about a third factor, a third person in this relationship, and that is God the Father. And God the Father is the husbandman, as one translation says, or the gardener, or the vine dresser, whichever we want to refer to it as. And so here's what I want you to see. First of all, it's not a point that I want to make, but it's something that you and I need to grasp. When we talk about having a relationship with the Lord, it's not just you and I with Jesus. It's you and I with Jesus and God the Father. He's the other one involved in this relationship. And so what I want you to see is the first truth that comes out of this is that God the Father cultivates our relationship. You and I just think it's us, it's me. We're trying to do this, and we realize, oh man, but I'm a failure. I haven't spent time with him today. And the reality is, He is the one who cultivates the relationship. How does he do that? Well, the branches that don't bear fruit, he takes away. And we're going to talk about those later in the passage. But for those of us who are instilled in this relationship with him, we go through, and that's my second point, we go through difficulties. He allows pruning to happen in our lives. So God the Father uses difficulties in our lives for the sake of our relationship, because we then would bear much fruit, much more fruit in our lives. So we think about it. We actually think that our difficulties are the hindrance to our relationship, but he's actually saying this is all part of the relationship. It's all part of the relationship that we have with him. Going through life, struggling the way we do, it's all part of life. Which then brings us to the third point, because oftentimes, I'll just be honest with you, when we go through difficulties, we automatically start thinking it's because there's something wrong with us. We start thinking in terms of it's because I haven't done this, or I haven't spent time with him, and so God is making me pay, or this is a consequence of my behavior. And it may be a consequence. But I want you to understand it has nothing to do with your standing with God. Why? Because look at what he says in verse 3. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Now this is what we need to remember. We are cleansed because of our faith in his word. This is what Jesus was saying to the disciples. If they were concerned about, okay, I'm going to get tossed out of here and cast away as a branch that doesn't bear fruit. No, he's saying you're already clean. You're already okay because you have put your faith and trust in me. It's the same message for you and I. We have already put our faith and trust in Jesus Christ. We are clean. We don't need to fear the prunings. We don't need to be feared of being cast away because we don't feel like we're a live branch in the relationship. Because God is the one who's cultivating our relationship with Jesus. So that takes, to be honest with you, that takes the stress off of you and I. In fact, he's going to use a word, depending on what version you look at. When we get to verse 4 and on, he's going to talk about abide in me or remain in me. Another way would say it is to rest in me. The relationship that we're seeking is one where we rest in him. Why? Because we already know he is the one that we have a relationship, Jesus, but the Father is the one who is the vine dresser. He cultivates that relationship. He uses the difficulties in our life for our own benefit and for our own needs later on as we become who we need to be in that relationship with him. And it's not because of our sin, because why? We're already clean. We're already cleansed because of our faith in his word. What a great way to start out the relationship. So I want you to think about that this week. Think about the uniqueness of a relationship where God, the Father himself, is cultivating that relationship you want to have with Jesus. And allow that to take the stress off of you. And begin to abide in him. Something to think about for this week.